Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Skip Charge Podcast. And we may have had a slight skip of a week, but we are well and truly back here, servicing you up with some Dragon Ball Super card game Masters format content. Gentlemen, how are we doing today? Pete, what's new with you?
Not a lot, mate. I've just been mostly practicing Masters, which makes a nice change because I swear that the last couple of times it's always been, oh, I got a One Piece tournament, or I do have a One Piece tournament next week though, technically, but yeah, outside of that, I've actually had the opportunity to actually play a lot of Masters, so that's basically all I've been doing.
I'm going to start digging into that because, as you say, it's an absolute rarity that we actually begin this podcast talking about how we've been playing the Dragon Ball Super Card Game Masters format. But Pete, what have you been? What have you been testing with? What have you been playing in Masters at the minute?
So, because it's still like early doors in terms of we have a lot of time, this is the opportunity to like test a wide range of decks. So, I've obviously, of course, I've tested Invoker. Spoiler alert, it's not that good, but I would still like it. I'd still like to. I still want to make it good, but I think the Kid Coup matchup is too hard for the deck. But maybe if I can get that solved, I've been playing. Like I've been literally playing everything. I've been playing Vegito, Gogeta BR, like all the BT26 decks to obviously see if they're good or not. But mostly Gogeta and Vegito. And obviously Kid Coup when people want me. I don't want to play Kid Coup. I'm bored of playing that deck. And I won't play that deck for finals. I'll rather go play One Piece instead. And I've also been playing Oceanus too, which is a deck I like.
Yeah, there's like a really nice selection in there as well. Like Vegito really sticks out to me. Like I'm normally like a green non-Saiyan leader kind of guy, but the the one deck which is kind of tempting me away from that streak is this like the new green Vegito deck. Like it just looks like it plays insane. Like it looks like I like being able to like boss monster like Ripper Life, Ignore Barrier,
Yeah.
Blocker,
So,
Under, Dormant, Uneasing, and
yeah.
like King Cold if you're that way inclined as well. Just feels like insane. Like I
But
fucking love it.
talking about non-Saiyan leaders, I've also been playing quite a bit of Samasu, but I've decided that that is not the deck because I was playing the mono green variant and I was just getting battered against certain decks, and then I tried the yellow variant and I felt like it was just the same. It's just not good. So I think for anyone who's hoping to win finals with Zamasu, I hope you prove me wrong, but I don't think that's a deck I would love to because it's mill, but it's not the way. Mill. I don't think it's the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, we already yeeted it to the bottom of the tier list. The tier list was exciting. It's like a lot of people like had a lot of opinions on that one, but I
Yeah.
feel like we are very comfortable in Zamasu being exactly where it was placed. Like it just doesn't do either of the points very well. Like it can aggro, cool. There's better aggro decks. It can mill. Just play Janemba, like and and get on with your day.
I've been getting some notifications as I go through my week for the most recent video, and like it's a great split of half of them being like, I knew Pan was S tier, that deck's gonna be crazy, and then the other half is like, Black Cooler should be way higher. What are you on about?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just been such a good split. I always love listening to people's different opinions on stuff, even
And
if
it's
they're
really
very strong opinions.
well, that's it. It's a really cool thing, right? As well, because like there's going to be people who have played a lot more Black Cooler Prison Planet before it's even come out than like any of us. So like you guys might have like that kind of like opinion and be well vested in it, whereas I'm just like I know I'm looking at the cards, I'm getting a bit of a basic idea for how the deck's built in my head and going, based on this and that, I don't think it's actually gonna be that good. Whereas like some of you guys have been like putting the deck together, ramming it into Kid Coup over and over again and being like, this deck's broken, it should be an S tier, you guys are lying. And it's like all the power to you. Let me know. I for one have actually like been putting together Android 13, like because I actually got the cards in finally from the anniversary set, and I was like playing a few test hands and like building around the deck a bit more, and I was like, wait, is this deck broken? And I put it in C tier. What was I thinking? Like, is genuinely like so much different when you actually pick up the cards and start like playing and teching for certain matchups as opposed to, I don't know, I've seen this one card on the reveal and it stinks, so this deck is automatically poopy. But that's part of the fun of tier lists.
Yeah, absolutely. We gotta have some strong opinions out there.
Yeah, boy. Ollie, what have you been up to, mate? I think you're about to break our duck of like actually doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been doing a lot of masters testing as well. Some with Peter and some with others. But I do have to break the streak. I'm sure I'll get onto my masters testing in a bit. But just yesterday, and in fact earlier today, I've literally just got back from a Star Wars planetary qualifier, the first of its kind in the UK. And then I've got another one next week. So this one was in Sheffield. Next week's one is in Cardiff. And they're basically, if you win them, you get to skip day one of what is the equivalent of the World Championships. For those who don't know, Star Wars have an open World Championships, open invite for this year because it's the first year of the game. And so they've made the pricing like you just skip day one. It's meant to be a 3-day event. So skipping day one is like a pretty big thing. It's going to be probably over 1,000 people going. I didn't do that well, unfortunately. I ran into some real rough matchups.
See you on day one, mate.
Yeah.
See you on day one, brother.
But shout out to Tom because Tom finished 9th, doing an amazing performance on one of his favorite decks, Cad Red. Unfortunately, it was top 8 cut, so like literally one place out from potentially qualifying, but it still did an amazing job.
And even though I brought my... Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You go on, Pete. I was literally just gonna say I fucking love that deck as well, like on a Star Wars tangent, because I think but all of us have played a little bit in that game. It's got very Masters vibes for any of you guys listening, but
100%.
that deck is sick. Go on, Pete.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I bought a ticket because I was gonna join them. I wasn't expecting good results because I've not practiced the game too much, but I looked at the night before and the trains were getting cancelled.
Yeah.
Because I live quite a distance from the venue, so I had to get like 2 trains to get there, and it was like a last minute because obviously originally the tickets sold out, and then Tom messaged and said, "Oh, there's like 7 tickets or whatever up for grabs." So it's like, okay, so I just bought them yesterday and then sorted out my train, and then got a message literally like a couple hours later saying possible train delays, blah blah blah. And then luckily I had to make a decision. I waited till midnight. I had to make a decision to either cancel and lose out because it was like 40 odd quid. So it wasn't cheap for me to come for like, I know for Tom it was only about what 50 quid there and back or some shit. For me it was like 40 odd quid, so it was a lot of money. And then 25 quid for entry. So, I was willing to spend that to go play, but I saw some like delays, cancellations, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna play safe and cancel my train. Luckily I did because the train was actually cancelled anyway, so there was no way I could get to the venue in time, and I would have, instead of losing a little bit of money, I would have lost it all. Potentially. I don't know what their train company's compensation scheme is, but either way.
To the train companies in the UK, like everyone else like listening to like Europe and like the US will just be like, "What's your beef?" And it's like, I don't know, like come to the UK and try and use our train servers over
It's
here.
just,
It's terrible.
Yeah, I expect it on Sundays, which is weird to say that I expect problems on Sundays just because it's Sundays, but not on a Saturday, man. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to go, but I would have been on Bobber Green, which I have here. You can't quite see it, but anyway, I have Bobber Green built, but I don't play that much because obviously my main focus is Masters at the moment, or One Piece if that ends up. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll get
cross
into that
bridge.
one. Yeah,
we'll cross that bridge. But yeah, so it was a shame. Even though I forgot all about it, I technically lost money without even leaving the house today. So sad face.
Welcome to the UK.
One
It
thing I
happens all
did
on
pick
a
up.
regular basis. You didn't leave the house today? Oh, sorry, mate. You just lost money. You left the house. You lost even more money.
Yeah.
One thing I
Anyway,
did pick
moving away
up,
from
which I
our
was very happy
political
about.
podcast.
Oh, sorry,
Go
what
on,
did you
Tony. I said we're about to start a political podcast at this point, but moving a
say?
little bit further away from that one. You go, you go.
Yeah. One thing I did pick up at the venue, which I was very happy with, they had some JoJo's Weiss Schwartz packs. And I'm a massive JoJo's fan. I've never played Weiss Schwartz or anything. But if you see behind me, they've got the fucking poster and the thing here. So I bought some and we got some good pulls, I think. I mean, I'm happy with this one especially.
Yeah,
But
you're
they're
like,
going to make for some sick energy markers, which I will be using over any official ones in the future.
because we're allowed to in Masters. Way we went through the mountains. We're back at Masters. Don't hate it.
Can I just go on a little sidebar for a second? I know we're talking all games Bandai. So, as you may or may not have seen, obviously, Damien is getting into this Alpha Clash, which is another TCG. He's just PM'd me as we're chatting because obviously I'm very professional. I don't have anything open in the background. And he's like, how to convince Pierre Dance that Alpha Clash is the game for him to play. He opens up the deck database and he shows me a screenshot of the first deck he sees, and it's a mill deck.
Oh no!
And control burn.
Oh, Jesus. We might be losing
So
another one, boys.
yeah. It's so I'll have to look into that game a little bit. But yeah, one says control burn, one says mill, so
I know that he's going to probably send me the exact same DM, but with like some kind of like
and
hard
control.
Hand control,
deck as
yeah.
well. Like me and Pete are going to slowly get brought away because like our like primary card game desires are being presented in that exact format. Like that's it, we're done.
Yeah, but yeah, obviously we're only talking about Bandai, but obviously we're this should be like the TCG podcast because we tend to talk about all TCGs, but it's good because I think on a different note, I know we're going to be talking about prepping for finals, but I also think different decks, but also I think different games is still a good thing to do because I think the skills that you learn in other games that can also be appropriate or applicable to our game too. Like
Definitely.
so I think like I know the obvious one is Fusion World. So like obviously we're used to in Masters negates. Obviously in Fusion World there is no negates, right? So you might have to learn how to use your combo cards more efficiently in Fusion World, right? And that can still even though we shit on Fusion World, that can still translate to Masters. There's a lot of things like that where I think it's always worth playing other games as well. To see if you like them, but also I think there's a lot of skills you can transfer over anyway.
I think there's a
I've
lot.
always said that playing Legends of Runeterra is what turned me into a decent Masters player, and it directly correlated with me getting any tournament results as well. That game heavily taught me how to just like play around what my opponent was going to do over the next turn or two, and also what they were going to do during my turn, because you can't play that game at a base level without knowing what your opponent's deck is going to do to you the next action after.
Yeah. And like I think a lot of games are like starting to kind of like I don't know whether like games had this before Masters or whether it's like an after Masters thing, but like I'm noticing loads more card games are coming out with this like focus on a leader unit or like even
Yeah.
like non-Bandai games are like doing like a lot of like the leader is what you build your deck around and then very similar kind of like back and forth resource management type games as well. So like as soon as you are good at one of those games, like which is about resource management, you become quite good at Masters, and then Masters also gives you like that basis to go into new games like Star Wars, for example, and you've got a really good base level of like, okay, that game's a lot about like what card do I charge or what card do I resource at the right time, what will I need later on down the line, and like there's so much of those that kind of cross and come in between TCGs and stuff like that, and maybe it's something we start to look at a bit further down the line as well as like other TCGs we can cover for you and that kind of thing. But at the minute, we're sticking with Masters because Masters isn't dead yet. So, of course, we're going to stick with Masters.
Yeah. Well, Gundam's coming out, so that should be an interesting topic as well.
Not another Bandai game, no.
I know they do need to like chill a little bit, but I think what happens is, I mean, since we've been playing Masters, I don't think they've actually killed any TCG, have they? Like, I'm not saying support it less, but I'm actually physically saying they are no longer printing cards for it. I mean, I'm 40, but I don't think since I've been playing Bandai games, I don't think I've played, like, say, since Masters, where they've actually physically killed a game. I don't think.
No, I think that like Bandai's policy on it, and I think this is probably where people get a little bit, and this actually kind of links to what we're going to be talking about a bit today, is that like I think a lot of their emphasis comes off of making the tournaments and like the actual like competitive play as clean as it could be, because like their games like sell like a shit ton because they focus a lot on like actually getting the product sold and like making the cards really nice, chase cards, that kind of thing is like kind of how they make their money. So it's like, oh yeah, like 6 people turned it for a Battle Spirit Saga tournament, but we still sold every box that went into stores because there was a super mega rare dragon thing that everyone was chasing after, and it sold for $2,000, so everyone's going in and buying the product. So it, while they're selling product, they've got no need to kill any of the games because fundamentally that's the whole purpose behind printing it. Whereas the organized play is like, yeah, it'll cost us 50p to print this card that you'll win, and you'll sell it for $5,000 after the tournament. Like,
I have speaking of Battle Spirits, I have some funny news that I heard this weekend from Josh about Battle Spirits, that boxes and singles from the newest set are currently at their highest prices ever because they work on I can't remember what the phrase is, but like they basically work on like pre-orders, or whoever's buying the cards, the consumer basically dictates how many boxes are distributed and how much product is actually distributed for Battle Spirits. And because there's so few people currently buying Battle Spirits, they've just sent out like, that much product for people to open. So because there's such few people buying it, the prices are like absolutely crazy right now.
More like a print to production type situation where it's where before you'd have stores naturally, ordering cases or whatever. I guess it sounds like what they do is they get all the orders in first. So it's like, rather than Bandai printing 100 cases and then they sell 50 and they've still got 50 left. Again, I don't know any of this kind of stuff, but I guess what they do is they go, okay, we've got an order for 100 boxes. We're going to print 100 boxes.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
I guess. I don't know.
The boxes, apparently they used to be like as low as 35 quid each, and they're up to like 120 each now. So it's a bit mad. Shout out to all the Battle Spirits players.
Like basically with Battle Spirits, like if Masters is on the chopping block, Battle Spirits is going first, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
We've got a buffer there in the way of like our game going anywhere, and like Battle Spirits, as soon as that's gone, then we can start worrying. But if they're still happy to print Battle Spirits product for 3 people who want it, then we're still winning.
I think the problem is it's the culture that they originally designed with that. Obviously, I don't like the game anyway. I think the game's crap. But outside of that, they started the nutrient, because this is where I think Star Wars has done it correctly. Like when we were listening to Star Wars before the game came out, they were setting up so much about local play and like building it up from the ground up, so you get your locals correct, then you get your regionals correct, etc., etc. And I think with Battle Spirit, like even most people I know, they just want to play it for the cash prize. I mean, we might even have someone amongst us that did a similar thing. But that's the thing, right? There's no then local scene because of it. So then what happens is the game is dead on arrival, and especially when you then take out the pricing which they have done from their events, from certain events. Obviously, I think does Worlds even have cash prizing anymore? I don't even know.
Nope. World's
So
pricing is the same as like 2 stages before it, I think, in terms
yeah,
of travel voucher amount, which is crazy.
yeah. So you build this game and the culture and the community around winning money, and then you take the money away. But you have no you have nothing. Like I don't even know if the game even has locals anywhere. I'm not familiar with it. I don't know if you know a bit more than I do, Ollie. But it's not a game that's been built as a game for locals and then built up. Where like Star Wars, I think is the opposite. I think um, they've built that from let's get locals correct, then let's get region store championships correct, and I think they've taken a better long term approach. Could we say?
It's a game built for the competitive players rather than built for the consumer, which is like, the Bandai games kind of have that the other way around. And like
Mm-hmm.
the way that like Battle Spirits kind of falls on its face a little bit as well because it doesn't have an IP attached to like that culture is absolutely correct as well, like that you've identified there, Pete. But like the other thing to go alongside that is it's not focused on an IP. Like I'm not the biggest fan of the way that One Piece plays as a game. But I think you could have had that game play as dog shit as you needed it to. Like it could have had the worst in mechanics and gameplay ever, but people are obsessed with the IP and will buy the shit out of it still. So people will come in their droves and buy boxes because they want to collect every card that comes out and stuff like that. So it's really difficult to mess up an IP like that. Whereas Battle Spirit Saga, like is that an original IP? I couldn't even tell you what that's based off of, and I also don't really care either.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be big in Japan, but over
Over
here,
here,
it's like, what even is it?
Yeah, I take the same approach of Gundam. Like, I have no interest in any. Like, to be
Yeah,
honest, most
same.
TCGs, I don't have an interest in it. I think Yugi was probably. I mean, it was one of the first TCGs I played, but obviously, I watched the show as a child. I
yeah,
don't play. I don't play it now just because I watched the show. I play TCGs because they're good or not,
Hmm.
or I like them. It's like with Star Wars, the art is horrible. I think we won't get many people in Star Wars because the artist is dog shit compared to say Dragon Ball, right? But Star Wars is probably better slash just as good as Masters in terms of skill level requirements. One Piece has some good art, some bad art, but like Star Wars art is not good. The only thing I think they do correctly is rarities, because you can get like every card in the different types of rarity with hyperspace or full art and stuff like that, which I think they do correctly. But yeah, I play TCGs because of the TCG itself. Obviously, if there's an interest like Vader, I love Vader. So if I can get a leader as well, then it's like an extra plus. But I play a game because of the TCG, not because of the IP. So yeah.
definitely. Um, that was a little bit of an a cappella segment for you about.
That was a bit,
Yeah.
wasn't
We never really planned that one, but look, that's a little bonus from us there. Like, yeah, a little bit of like the state of the TCG world there for you, and like in particular Bandai games. And
Yeah.
what I'll do is use that as a little bit of a way to get us over to, which I think is going to be a big community talking point. And I'm just quite keen to jump into this one. Is that we did have finals announced for North America, and we also had finals pricing announced as well. Um,
Yeah.
and we've seen on the discussion group in particular, we've seen a lot of players getting involved in this. Um, to say that this pricing is divisive is the understatement of the century. There is
Yeah.
a really big camp of people who are not happy with the pricing. There is a number of people who are a bit more optimistic and a bit more positive about it as well. So I think it'd be a really good time for us to kind of just jump in and give you our very initial thoughts. Ollie, I'm going to send it over to you first, mate. What's your thoughts on the pricing? As someone who's going to be a competitive player, looking to do, looking to win the tournament, that's going to be your like mindset running into it. How does this pricing make you feel?
I don't like it. To keep it short, to keep it brief, I don't like it. It feels like comparing it to last year is they've pretty much exclusively taken stuff away. I know they added uncut sheets back again, which wasn't a thing last year, but was a thing the year before. Other than that, they've exclusively taken stuff away. They've taken away meta leaders. They've made all of the first to third place leaders like the same thing. They took away the giant leaders, which we had for top 16 and top 32, right?
Yeah.
Now that's just replaced with a top 16 Broly, which, well, it's not even replaced by that. That was another thing. You got a top 16 leader and a top 16 giant leader and a top 16 metal leader of the top 16 leader, which you don't get
top
anymore.
16 was really good.
Yeah. If you got top 16, you made a lot of money, and now it's looking like you just get a Broly, and who's even buying this Broly? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll sell all our copies to Sam.
Yeah, we'll send all our copies to Sam, and he'll have an uncut sheet full of Brolys. And I also think, like, looking at some of the picks for even just the championship packs, and they do like often 2 or 3 packs, one like finalist version and one sort of normal version. Even the picks for those are just like a bit weird. Like, is that, I think there's Champa and I can't really see the cards too well.
Yeah.
Slide,
It's
but like
been
Champa
reprinted.
and Beerus is on there, which hasn't seen play in like probably 3 years, right? And even then, it was pretty rare.
Come on, this is a broken card.
Like, we've got the Bardock 8-drop, which I don't know how many times that's been reprinted, but I feel like I've seen it every set.
Hawks for you, mate.
I don't know. I mean, there's like a couple of decent picks. Like, I think the SS4 Vegeta is a good pick, and I think, is that the King Piccolo TP that's on there?
It is indeed.
That's a decent one. Trunks Emotional Blow, we had that reprinted already as well. I mean, it's not the worst, but it's like we've already had it reprinted. I feel like there were
video like Zamasu is rubbish. Green Zamasu is rubbish. This Trunks doesn't matter anymore for blue players. Don't worry about it.
yeah, for real. And then I don't know. It's just like everything's just a bit all over the place. I know Peter's got some interesting opinions as to why maybe the reason behind some of this stuff has happened. So I'll pass it over to Peter to explain. But overall, I'm just not a big fan of how they've done things from a player perspective.
Should we quickly run down the list of the things which have changed between the two, and then we'll go to that point for you, Pete?
Yes, that's a good shout.
Just so people understand just how much is kind of missing between the two. So the reward cards are no longer a thing. So you got your reward cards, and then you could go to finals and pick up your like set of 6 selective promos. This is where Emotional Blow got its first reprint, in fact. That's a no. That's not on there anymore. And then you also don't get the reward pack. The 2023 reward pack isn't on there.
Let me just add to the reward pack, because obviously last year was the first time we saw that.
Yeah.
But I do think they incorporated that because of our feedback from the year before. So I think the reward, because we didn't obviously have the reward one the year before, and I think that when we had it last year, I feel like that was really cool. Like, even though it took ages to find out what we could actually buy with those reward cards, I liked the idea of getting them in the regionals.
It was very like Duelist Kingdom-esque, where you'd go around, playing in these events and collecting the little chips on your wrist to enter the castle.
Yeah, so I last year was the first time they did it. However, I do believe they did it because of our feedback wanting to do more. And I think it was a nice little extra. And you had the binder as well, so yeah.
It was a really cool little like addition to it. And like I understand there was probably like a lot of like weird stuff happening with the reward packs and everything last year, and like people were left over reward cards and people not getting hold of them at the right time and stuff like that. So maybe it was like okay, this is too much of a faff, scrap it kind of thing. But it is certainly one of the things which is like not here, and it doesn't mean you're that invested in the regionals, like running around the year as well, I guess. We have both the premium packs again. So no giant leaders for top 32 anymore or top 16. It's just that Broly alt art for top 16. There is no longer another one. We had the Invoker leader as like a top 16 art. That isn't there anymore.
No metal version of Broly either.
No metal leaders whatsoever on there as well. That is something which has gone. No playmats for entry is also off the table. And also you now only get the Vegito leader as opposed to all like a multitude of different leaders you can pick from as your alt art card for the top cut as well. So a fair amount we're missing there. And I'll after I've jumped in with that bit, I'll let you go, Pete, with some of the reasons why things are probably looking a bit different this year.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is obviously only my theory based on me playing One Piece and seeing a lot of the other obviously TCGs. And I think it comes down to they have to they're making all games the same pricing setup. So like when you compare, say, One Piece, for example, they've always had the first, second, third pricing the same card, for
Yeah.
example. And obviously, for us, we had 3 different leaders, and we also then had metal leaders, which is a difference, right? Personally, like there's more than just that, technically, but like my theory is based on like the numbers I'm looking and like when I compare it to say One Piece, and obviously Fusion World's done their pricing, and that's basically the same as again both games. So I feel like Bandai might have to make it more equal to show no favoritism, I assume. But that's just an assumption. So I think because that's why some of the rules started crossing over between Masters and Fusion World as well, like with the energy marker and things like that. And they tried to copy that interaction to do with. I know it was to do with the 5-drop energy dude from Fusion World. They tried to bring that rule into Masters. I forgot what it was. It was to do with something resolving, but it wouldn't work like that in Masters because it would completely change like all the cards or something. I think it was to do with
It? The
it
ruling
was
for mill.
it was to do with if you got rid of 2 of your energy at the same time. I think in Fusion World you only replace 1 because of the way it triggers, and then that would have to then change. And someone please correct me in the comments because I don't
Yeah, that
remember it.
does ring a bell.
It was something to
Yeah.
do with multiple cards going to, and I swear it was to do with energy. And it was to do with the 5 or 6-drop Goku that replaces energy that you burn. This is in green. So it was to do with like when you burn multiple energy, there's something that triggers differently in Fusion World to Masters.
You
But
only
anyway,
replace one, isn't it? And then like
yeah,
people put that across the like red cooler mill, and that
yeah,
ruling then
yeah,
for us was
yeah.
like, oh, you can minus that whole board off and do all this stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, but they only mill one card, and it was like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. So that was again, I think, an example where they were trying to make the 2 games similar, and then they realized that Masters have got no hope of changing rules like that. I mean, even
Yeah.
the energy marker, which I think is a good change, is still a massive change to the game because the game's never built with energy markers in mind.
Masters is
So
too giga chad for the Fusion World rules.
Very true. But yeah, I think when I compare it to like One Piece pricing, so again, there's like uncut sheets, for example, for top 8, and they have a top 16 playmat, and that's exactly the same here. Because again, talking about the playmats, we have a top 16 playmat, but we don't have a first, second, third playmat like we used to last year as well. We don't have the metal leaders anymore. And I think for me that's one of the biggest losses, the metal
The
cards.
metal leaders were so cool. And
Yeah,
especially if it was like a leader that you wanted, just to have that as like a trophy you could display or even playing with it was so like it felt so rewarding to win.
and I liked you had the choice. Obviously, you Ollie personally chose the Halo coup, which
Yeah.
is technically third place. But you could choose the metal of because I assume you got the metal of the first one, or did you get the
No,
third?
I went for both
Okay,
Halo Q
but
ones.
but that's what's good, right? It's your personal preference,
Yeah.
or you could you could do one or the other or whatever. And I like that where when you have, I think when you do a leader, because I do think leader stamps are the correct way to do, but I think when it's the same leader, I think it really takes away something. Like you could have easily put Gogeta, Vegito, and let's say your third one would have been that Goku and Gohan, the yellow one. Like, think how great that is. Those three leaders, like, sweet. Okay, so
Your
Goku.
favorite character and era, right?
Yeah, you just pick one and well, try and buy one or try and win one, right?
Yeah.
But I think when it's the same card like this, like the card looks great, but it's like if you don't like Vegito, then you're like lost out. I think when they do a single card like this, it should be a secret rare. I don't think they should do a leader because the problem with
That would have
leaders
been a
is
bit better. Yeah, I see that.
they come and go. But I think with secret rares, like if that was Beast Hand, I know we have a Worlds one, but like let's say that was Beast Hand, or they go, okay, what's the best secret rare this year we've done, or whatever, and then that is the
Or
prizing
they do
card.
like the new, even just the new Victory Strike one
Yes,
for collector's purpose would be cool.
Exactly. So I'd rather when they do an individual card, because leaders do come and go, secret rares tend to stick around a bit longer. Like, I mean, look at Beast Hand. Like, it's still the go-to blue blue card.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I've kind of waffled on a little bit, but I am very disappointed. We get energy markers, which, I mean, fine, whatever, right? I mean, I was happy that we were getting energy markers, but not at the cost of what we lost.
Yeah.
Like it's not okay. I'd rather like not have them.
Yeah. I think that like the energy marks was probably part of like what the survey results were telling them as well. Like people were saying like we'd happily have energy markers as part of the
Yeah.
prize, and that's cool. But as like a really good point you made there, Pete, is like, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Like,
I
always,
like the energy. I like the fact it's a unique energy marker because for nationals, right? Because obviously in masters we don't need an energy marker every set because obviously in Fusion World you have to use an energy marker. So it makes sense to print them every set because then you can have your starter deck. Well, sorry, whatever leader you want to play, you can have the energy marker for that leader. Obviously in masters we have total freedom. You know, I've got as I've posted, I've got Otter from Magic the Gathering as my invoker one because it's red and blue. And you know, Ollie has a big Hearthstone coin as his energy marker, which is that thing there.
well, he did. Now it's Jotaro from
Oh
Yeah, now
yeah.
it's Jotaro. I've even ordered. Hang on, we'll do a little show and tell. Let me get my. I ordered some Dragon Ball Heroes cards from recommendation from Giovanni, and I found out they're also Yu-Gi-Oh size, so I get to use my old Yu-Gi-Oh national sleeves on. But
Just throwing that out there.
yeah, you know, it's just like nothing major. But yeah, I got some BoJack ones.
Yeah.
And I got,
Pretty
so I'm
much
going to be using one for each
well,
BoJack deck. It's hype.
anyone who's just listening in, go and look at the YouTube video and have a look at these cards. They are like gorgeous. Like they're really, really
They
cool.
look sick.
Yeah.
And I
So
think this is like the point you're trying to make here, Pete, isn't it? It's like there's so many other things and avenues that us as Masters players are already going down to fulfill the energy marker thing that like having energy markers as part of the pricing is cool, but it's not like oh my god, I need to have
no,
this.
it will never be a selling point, and that's why like I don't mind even if they give an energy marker for let's say they did one for entry and just a basic, you know, energy marker whatever, and then literally first, second, third had an energy marker that literally was like first, second, third, right? That's it. They don't need to do anything else with energy markers because we don't care. In the most loveliest way possible, we don't care. Give us something shiny, sure, but we don't need like in this we got 4 in total and then we have a finalist pack. We don't need that many energy markers. Like we really don't, not in masters. You know, that stuff for Fusion World, sure.
Unless
But
it's a BoJack one.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously I'll take them, but like I would rather have reprints of cards I'm not going to use instead.
I think this is a really good like join between the 2 points here as well is that like with the way that energy markers work for Fusion World is really cool because you know you can go and get your energy marker that matches with your leader. So what
Yeah.
Ollie's done is he's gone out and got like the old heroes cards and gone, these BoJack cards are really cool and I can play these with my BoJack leader. if
Yep.
there was an energy marker that comes out with each regional or set, which is going to make sure that each character goes on there, then Ollie, I imagine you would get, if there was like an official Masters Bojack energy marker, you'd be like, cool, like sign me up.
Yeah,
But
I'd
at the
probably
minute,
grab that.
it's like, yeah, like at the minute you're going like, we've got Goku, Vegeta, or Bardock, and like if you play one of those three leaders and one of those three characters, awesome. Or if you like the art, awesome. But like a lot of players at the minute, especially as like finals prizing, are not going to be that like enamored with collecting these energy markers because they will have already gone out their way to find exactly what's personal to them and what they enjoy playing with as an energy marker. So, like, it is fine to have the energy markers in there. And I know this is something that'll probably get built on, but I'm not excited about it.
No.
Personally.
Looking at the God Rare pack of energy markers, it is top 4. So I guess kind of going to my point about it being first, second, third, it kind of is. Because I was just curious actually where they were. So you had the energy markers for top participation, and then the ones that look like the God Rare. Well, they are the God Rares technically. They are technically top 4, so they might hold maybe a little bit of value. So I'm a bit more of a fan of like rarer ones, like say if the winner got one and it said 2024 national champion or something like that. I'm a bit
Yeah,
more of a fan of as a player because that's like a trophy then. And obviously, so I'm a big fan of that in the grand scheme of things, but I don't know. I think we've been spoiled with Metal Leaders as just like a little cool trophy.
Yeah, for
But
something
and
to replace Metal Leaders, I feel like it'd have to be really over the top, like you were saying with the
yeah,
first place national champion or some like big writing on some shit.
yeah, well, it's like with the Giant Leaders, right? Like they weren't like amazing. I mean, I still have the ones I've got from last year. Sorry, the year before with the Sin and the um Sin and Goji. Sorry, Broly. But like, I don't know, they're just like cool to have. But like, I wouldn't have. I don't. How can I put this? If they disappeared, I guess I wouldn't care. It's more the metal leaders going I care about more than anything, because that was also very unique to our game as well. So, but yeah, the
yeah,
reprint options are trash. I'll just leave it there because I'm gonna be like ranting for days. But I think when we look at last year's, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but it's like the 2023 celebrations. You had like reprints like the D Magics, the Super Combos, the Token Negates, Android
yeah,
17, the Demon, all that stuff. This time around, Sun Goku Annihilator. What? Okay. Bardock 8 drop. What? Like I say, Chomper Beers. What?
yeah. And like, I'm quite
Sound
keen
like
to
you're
like.
doing a wrestling promo.
Yeah,
What?
I'm being Austin for a second, and it's like even the one after that, like Baby's Z Unison, Z leader. Why? Bro, Golden Frieza Z leader. Why? Trunks. Why? Well, like there. You know what? If they reprinted the anniversary box ones, fuck yeah, big
Yeah, give
support
us
of
the
that.
fucking Dragon Ball res.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like the unisons. We were talked about it before, right?
Mm.
So if you want to increase or make pricing actually decent, that's a way of doing it. Like no one is sitting here going, "Oh, I really wish my Golden Frieza Z Unison had something or my Broly." No, like no one cares. But
yeah. That like,
if
I
it
think
yeah, all the Z extras from Anniversary Box, spot on.
definitely
Like
in
that to me
SPL.
have been great. But anyway, that's my rant over. I've got nothing nice to say. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll stop there.
That's fine. What I will do is I'll level out a little bit here for you because I think I agree with like both of you in a way. Like I'm very disappointed in general with like the way the pricing looks. Um, one of the things I will say is I think the alternate artworks that all of these cards are getting looks awesome, and I think
Yeah,
that's a really cool part to like here is that these reprints are not just like the last year's one where it's like a silver foiling and a little bit of
yeah,
writing. You're getting a full rework of the card.
Yeah, I
The
hadn't
hyper,
even noticed that I completely forgot about last year's just being like silver or gold writing, and that was it. So yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Yeah, like this Hyper Rush Vegito looked absolutely insane, and that is going to start seeing some play. So that's a good pick here. Um, I think the aerial Battle King Piccolo is a really good shout. That one of Annihilator is like fine. A lot of yellow decks are using it. Why not? Um, and then I just think after that, like we're just running out of like things that were ever worthwhile reprinting. Kind of like the point that Pete was making there is like I would have loved to have seen some of these very like highly playable things like the green SGR, the Dragon Ball rare Z extras that people are still missing and having multiple copies of that they could have turned up for. You're a competitive player who comes to this event and either you want cards that you can like, extra copies of these playable cards that you can put in a nice rarity into your decks, or you want to sell them on and make back your tournament entry as well if you're doing well, or if that's something that you want to do if you've already got these cards. All of these, like some of these picks, like the 8-drop Bardock, um Hyper Speed Rush Goten was last played about 2 years ago. Beerus Chomper, absolutely not a choice that anyone was want to go for. And then when you go to like the Zenkai pack and like, you know, Deborah came out last set. We don't need a reprint of this card. TN, I think, is probably the best shout because it's a skillless card and you get like a bit of a rarity bump on it. But like that, I'm a Frieza successor player. I love that deck, but why is this cooler unison
Yeah.
in this pack? For Christ's sake! Like I will sit there with all of my brothers who play Frieza successor and be like, yeah, like I love seeing this card in here. But the other 99% of the player base are going, what the fuck is this card doing in my pack? You're gonna pull this out of finals and just be like, sick. Great. I'm
Yeah.
going to try and sell this on. Oh, like I'm not going to play it because I don't play this deck. I'm going to try and sell it on. Oh, someone's going to offer me 25p for it. It's Joe Revel. He's going to offer me 25p for it. That's the best I can get. Like, and it's just like there was a lot of better directions card wise we could have gone with this. The
Yeah.
artwork is fantastic. Do not get me wrong. I think the way they've like redesigned the cards is phenomenal. I want to see more of this in the way that they are doing like regional and hot top end pricing. Absolutely. But I just need to see much better choices. And then I think I could have probably come to terms with the idea of not having the extras that we had last time out. Like I would have been very happy. Like if you're giving me like a Dragon Ball rare or a Z extra from the anniversary box last set, like a green Z extra with a fancy artwork that comes out of these packs readily. I'm really excited about it, but the way the pricing looks at the minute, even like just like your most casual players who are entering this to play because they're at the card fest basically, and don't get me wrong, there's not many casual players left in the game at this point, but a lot of players started playing off the back of Fusion World. We're starting to see a lot of players were looking for a bit of something extra than what Fusion World was offering them, and this is a great chance to give them plenty of these like well-known staples that they could have splashed into the deck at like a nice rarity point, or certain TPs that really needed a reprint. And I just personally don't feel like this delivered on it. And absolutely no bashing of you guys who looked at the set and you were like, you know what, here's a bunch of cards that I actually really needed. Some people will still be after the Vegetos. Some people, their pet decks will be in this unison lineup and they'll be really happy about it. Absolutely all the power to you on that one. But for me personally, that did not do it for me. And I'm not entering finals this year, but if I was, I wouldn't be particularly excited about what I would be receiving for my travel and entry into the tournament.
Yeah. So yeah. While we've been discussing, I have actually thought about two very positive things, which obviously makes a change because I'll be honest, I've been quite negative, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being negative. I think there's there's different things, and I do agree actually. After reviewing, I do think the arts are smashing. Like let's be real, but the card's not going to be worth anything still. But you are right. The art is fantastic, but that is something that Dragon Ball has done since day dot. It's one of the
Hashtag since
great
day
things.
one.
Yeah, hashtag since day one. So one thing I will say is, even though the card choices are trash in the majority, like we keep using the Beerus as a prime example, unless there's a leader that's coming out, and this is going to be like broken in it or some shit that we don't know about.
I think Broly Surge is going to win finals, and we're all going to be
Yeah.
sat there being cooked by this guy with like the 4 promos of Miracle Jumper in his neck.
Exactly. Well, exactly. So yeah, I think the art is great. I think that's one thing we can all agree on, and it's the same with the energy markers. The art is still great. So I don't want people thinking I'm moaning and I don't appreciate something. But the one big thing I'm really happy about, and hopefully this is very positive for Masters in the future as well. I'm happy that we're actually a part of the fest for this year.
Yeah.
I think that's a big point because we're actually like mentioned here now. Where before, obviously, it was like Masters did not exist. You know, when we looked at it last year.
Saga, Fusion World. What?
Yeah. Where now it's more of a like a Dragon Ball world, and then they separate the Masters and Fusion World. I forgot exactly what they say. So I will say one of the things I'm very happy about from Bandai or whoever. But again, this could also go back to what I was saying about how they can't treat the games differently. Because by not including Masters in this fest, you are. So it might be to do with, again, I don't know this kind of stuff. This is just me guessing as a player. But yeah, if it is a case of Bandai have to treat all the IPs the same, then we're there by default because we have to be treated the same. But you know, because we were the only one missing last year, weren't we? I think everyone else was there.
I think so.
Yeah.
So this year, it's very nice to be included in there. And hopefully the same for Worlds as well.
They were there.
Yeah, the only downside is because they're all on the same day now, like for people like myself, I have to choose between Masters and One Piece finals. So, yeah, we'll see what wins. But yeah, that was all.
I could be the only one out of the 3 of us going to Masters finals. Sad face.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so that's I guess me kind of wrapping up. I didn't want to be all negative. I do like the arts, but I'm only negative because I love the game that much. Like, so anytime it seems like it's gonna lose people, my instant reaction is like, you know, aggression, I guess, with that. So
I think it's constructive as well, Pete, is the thing, because like at the
at
end of the
times,
day, like they like Bandai are never going to get everything right, and unless we as a player base are going to like at least kind of like call out a certain level of dissatisfaction in these things, that's why things get developed and changed. That's why we're now a part of Cardfest, is because people are like, why aren't we part of Cardfest? And like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, Bandai do not really like have not in the past at least like listened to a lot of this feedback, and or they listen to select parts and then maybe not the actual bits that need a bit of improvement. So like absolutely we need to mention like what's really positive about this pricing in terms of like the art direction and like where our place is in the Bandai card game universe. But
Yeah.
you know, unless we call out these things, like, you know, we could have a world where we're getting fantastic staple cards in these fantastic alt art. And that's the ideal place I want to be in for these kind of things.
Well, it's like with this 2024 final Zenkai EX pack, right? They've picked all Unison. Sorry, oh no, one's a Z battle. Oh no, it's 2 Z battles. Because I was just admiring the Fu art. I think that's fantastic. But like those 3, 4, 5 special like the finalist ones. I'm just sitting here and thinking if they were the Z extras from Anniversary Box, they would be just fantastic. It would just be like it would be like everybody would want that as a rarity bump for their decks because every single person has a Z extra, unless your deck has a restriction that stops you packing as the extra, which is the only one I can think of is obviously the Power Wish deck. Outside of that, every single deck has a Z extra from the Anniversary Box most of the time. So like when you look at this and think to yourself, they could have been that, man, that would have been fire. But oh well. Never mind.
Ollie, any closing remarks from yourself on this one before we move on?
Not particularly. I don't think. I definitely agree that whilst the artwork is really nice, and I'm a big fan of the fact that they've done alt arts, I think just the card choices in general are not great, and yeah, the missing like things like meta leaders is a real punch to the gut. They were definitely something to aim for when it came to playing these events.
Yeah, and it helped to increase the money side as well.
Yeah, of course.
We have to pay respect to that idea, and I know that like Bandai will always put not for sale at the bottom of the cards. That's it's the like turn the other way and have plausible deniability about the whole thing. But like players absolutely do enter looking for prizes which they can then sell on because they are spending a lot of money traveling across the world to compete in these games. So they do absolutely look at how they can like utilize the secondhand market to make their money back. So when the card choices are made, that is definitely going to be a pull or a deterrent for players wanting to enter. I think that is a good place to leave the debate. Please do let us know in the comments how you feel about this. Like we've got loads of people obviously already in the discussion group talking about it's a complete shit show versus this is amazing. I think the answer is somewhere in between, guys, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's kind of what our take is anyway as a team here. But yeah, we're always really keen to hear what you have to say.
I'm also shocked, just to end on that, it's not Gogeta as the leader, and they've actually
was
picked
surprised
Vegito.
at that as well. Yeah, I was fully expecting Gogeta to be a prize card somewhere.
No, you know the alt-art 1 to 3, it's Vegito instead of Gogeta.
Yeah, that is very interesting, isn't it? It's like
saving it for Worlds, maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe Vegito's the better deck. Find out in our tier list video from 2 weeks ago.
I mean, spoiler, Vegito is above Gogeta on the tier list. They were listening to us all along.
Maybe.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that too. Sorry.
No, absolutely fine. So our next and final topic, because we've been doing a little bit of like here and there rambling in this episode, but things are still a little bit more quiet before we get to final season, and we'll be covering plenty of stuff to do with final season, not just the prizing that we've done in this episode. But we are going to spend a bit more time on our Dragon Ball's Den segment. So, everybody, welcome back to Dragon Ball's Den. So, as you will have known from a couple of weeks ago, we've been planning a very special segment for you, which is pitching your own ideas and trying to convince the other two gentlemen of how good your idea is. So, we're going to take it in turns to pitch like one idea that we've all picked from the multitude of comments on Facebook and on YouTube that you've all put in. And it's been really, really difficult to like slim down our choice to just one of them. So we are also going to have a little honorable mentions bit at the end where maybe didn't just pick just one because we were honestly like blown away with the amount of responses, the amount of great ideas that you guys have been thinking about for your own decks that you're super passionate about. So we're going to start over with Ollie. Ollie's going to tell us like which one he picked basically, and then we're going to give him 2 minutes to pitch the idea. And then we will move through. And at the end, we all have to come on a consensus of what is going to be the inaugural winner of the community Dragon Ball's Den. So it's going to get quite interesting. So buckle in. Ollie, which comment did you pick up on and what's it support for?
So I'll be able to flash the comments on the screen as well as we go, which is nice. So my one was for BT18 Halo Crew support, and it is for a Z leader. I can't quite make out the name on the screen. I think it's NSM6467, so shout out to you. Hopefully I've read that right. It's a little bit blurred from my perspective right now. But yeah, it's a Halo Crew Z leader, and for those of you watching who don't know, I'm absolutely a massive fan of this deck. So I saw this and I was like, yeah, I like what this is trying to do. I'm definitely gonna pick this.
In fact, in the prizing bit there, we even mentioned like what leader you picked up from
Winning finals.
your European finals run, right, which was the Halo Coup leader. So
Yeah,
it
exactly.
seems really, really fitting that this is your choice here. It'll be on the screen there, but do you mind just reading out the effect for the audio listeners before we get into your bit?
Of course. So it's a blue Z leader, and the name is SS Son Goku Power Transcending Another World. Obviously, quite thematic to the archetype. It's a
Cool.
15k power Z leader. Awaken condition is if it's your turn and you have 2 or more blue cards in your combo area on top of Son Goku Another World Fighter, which is the Angel Halo leader, for 0 energy and 2 Z energy. So, yeah, it's 0 energy, 2 Z energy. The auto is when this card comes into play, you may discard 1 Angel Halo. If you do, bottom deck one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less, ignoring barrier. It's also got an activate main, limit 1 for 2 blue energy. You remove this card from the game if you have 3 or more energy. Play up to 1 blue Another World Budokai card with an energy cost of 6 or less from your drop or warp. So that is the full effect of SS Son Goku Power Transcending Another World.
Incredible. So, with that all said and done, we're going to start the timer for you, Ollie, now. Sell us on Goku.
All right, so there is, for those watching as well, there is a little bit of reasoning that that the viewer has helpfully put in the comment. But there was quite a few things that I really liked about this from a design perspective. The first thing, I'm just going to start from the very top of the comment. In terms of like what they wrote about the card, which for me the top thing is the 15k power. I really like that it's 15k power because blue Z leaders with 20k power is just generally quite a dangerous thing because of Senzu being existing. So I'm a real big fan of the fact that it's 15k power. The fact that it doesn't require any life total to Z Awaken is great because the Angel Halo leader flips onto 6 life and doesn't have any way to take its own life, I don't think. So you'd kind of be at the mercy of your opponent when it comes to that. The Awaken condition being 0's energy, 2Z energy is great because you generate 2Z energy on every turn cycle using the activate battle of your Angel Halo leader, once on your turn, once on your opponent's turn. And then the fact that the Awaken condition is if it's your turn is great because it means that when it comes into play with the auto, you don't get to like effectively activate battle, remove the attacking card, ignoring barrier, even if it only costs 4 or less. But it also means that you have to sequence it a little bit more interestingly by getting through all of your leader's backside skills first before Z Awakening on your turn. And it also means if you want to just automatically set up Defending Friends, then you're going to have to skip out on getting the Activate Battle on your opponent's turn and also not using the Activate Main on your turn. So you can play defensively or offensively there. The Activate Main, I think, is really cool. The fact that it obviously makes the 6-drop cheaper and a lot more playable in the archetype. I feel like a card like that nowadays is often seen at like 2 energy with cards like...
I'm...
Damn, that was fast.
I will let you finish off that Activate Main point.
Yeah, so the fact that it's 2 energy is great because I feel like the 6-drop nowadays would be around that like 2, maybe 3 energy mark, but it's cast at 3 or more energy, so it's kind of okay. With cards like Solidarity existing that are somewhat the same power level and barrier removal being a lot more frequent as well. And also the 6-drop is like not really playable, but it also gives access to like 6 cost or less, so you can just play Dead Heat from the warp without having to discard your 2 extra cards, which is obviously a massive help towards the deck.
Cool. If it was your own idea, I'd have cut you off solid at 2 minutes. And
Yeah,
then
of course.
you. But because it's one of our wonderful listeners and viewers,
We've got to give everyone a fair shout, right?
Not everyone talks at a blistering pace like me, for sure. Pete, what do you think of this? A Z leader for Halo Coup.
I think it's interesting. One thing I didn't catch, so apologies if you mentioned it. You don't have the Activate Battle anymore, do you, that you have on your Awaken side, right? the combo from Warp.
Yes, you
But
don't
did you
have
still
that.
have that?
You
Oh,
don't have that,
okay.
and you also don't have the effect to grab back halos, which is why it's
Yeah.
important that the Z leader removes itself when they activate main, so that you can
But
like.
you can play the triple striker, right?
Yes, yeah, that's the 6-drop you can
Yeah,
play.
yeah. I like it.
Triple Strike Barrier.
It's one of those like cute Z leaders that won't stick around.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice because I like when Z leaders are strong, but they bugger off at the end of the turn, or they bugger off when they do their effect. So yeah, seems like a nice card for the deck. It wouldn't make it broken, and I think it would also be some interesting things with like playing some of the boss monsters. But I mean, even the boss monsters for today's standards are not they're not like boss monsters, are they really? So I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I'd second that as well. Like, I really love like quite simple like design, and like as a Z leader as well. Like Z leader support is fantastic because it's like you're always going to be able to like go into it. Like you don't have to draw your support. And I love like because a lot of like the anniversary box cards do this as well, where like the boss monster of the archetype gets cheated out for cheaper, and it turns that originally like decent but not so decent anymore boss monster into really really powerful because you can cheat it out quicker. Um, and it also has that synergy built in with the way like the leader combos and stuff like that. Like the leader will combo the two guys for you to be able to fulfill the cost to Z Awaken. Um, gives you another like 'cause I know Bursting Rage is potentially an SCR for Halo Q anyway to go into the 7 Q leader, but now you have like another SCR option because of it as well. Like so imagine it matches up on the names and everything. Really cool. We've got a really strong front runner there.
Am I okay to critique my own choice slightly, considering it's the community one? Because
Well,
I have one
you
very
had us
very
both
small criticism.
you had us both convinced. Go ahead. I'm not taking it back now. Critique away.
Okay. The one very small critique that I have of this card, and it can be changed like super easily, is the fact that because it comes into play on your turn and then also leaves on your same turn, it'll reset the once per turn activate battle for your backside leader. So like potentially that's fine, and that's just a mechanic of the card, and it means you get to use your activate battle a second time on the same turn. And then like that sets you up the 2Z energy for your next Z leader next turn. But the like it could just be changed to be that the Z leader floats away at the end of the turn rather than just immediately, just to get around that small thing.
We got to go with the broken ideas, man. Like,
It does make the sequencing of the deck a lot like more intricate, but yeah, that was the one thing that I thought of that I was like a little bit concerned of. But it's not like a bad thing at all.
I'm giving the viewer the benefit of the doubt. It's saying like the broken card. The more broken it is, the better. Like some of these decks aren't seeing the light of day at the minute, so like anything that like really pushes them up there, I'm all game for it. Yeah, give them two combos of what 1Ks from the drop, whatever it is.
Yeah, they become like 3Ks or 2Ks. I can't actually remember now. I think they become 2Ks from the
Yeah,
warp.
And the quicker it goes, the quicker you get to nice to see your third place trophy again.
True.
there you go. I'm gonna jump in next. For mine, if one of you gentlemen wants to get me the timer.
I'll get
Um,
you the timer.
but
Two
I'm
2 minutes, right?
2 minutes. I'm going off the beaten track a little bit here in terms of what like I think a lot of people are going to pitch green ideas because they were hoping I'm going to pick a green idea, but this is a blue card. Now,
Okay.
I don't touch blue very often, but this is a deck that I've been really desperate to work because I loved green Raditz so much, and this is a bit of support for blue Raditz because although it's not hand control necessarily, the concept of the deck constantly looking at your opponent's hand phenomenal. Um, so this one comes to us from Facebook, from one of our listeners, Hache Ramos. Thank you so much. Um, and he gave a good selection of cards for the like different archetypes. To be fair, and like he also like does like a nice little bit of design for the cards themselves, which I really enjoy. Um, like like people putting a little bit of like time into like building up like how the card looks and stuff like that, which is really cool. And the card I've gone with here is a card called Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta Rogue Invasion, which is a 4-cost 2 blue specified, um, with 0 plus 5k combo power, deflect, triple attack, and barrier. This is why I was advocating for broken cards. And then an activate main for 1 blue energy, limit 1. If your leader is a blue Raditz card and you have 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand. And then also, when this card is played, play 2 Cyberman tokens that have 5k power, 0 combo cost, and 5k power. I am ready to argue the point of this card when you guys are ready to start the timer.
Right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Right. So first off, this card has got all 3 names on it: Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta. For those of you who are unaware, the Scout as the extra lets you look at your opponent's hand, and then if you've got if they've got 15k or less on there, you get to play like a Raditz, Nappa, or Vegeta with 16k power from your hand. So this guy comes into that as well. And you can remove Scout from the game when one of your guys, like your Vegetas, Nappas, or Raditz, gets killed. You can play one of the other 2 characters. So first of all, off the bat, this is all 3 characters. So no matter which one of your Nappa or like Vegeta or Raditz gets KO'd, you can always pull this guy out of the deck, and he's always going to have a barrier, which is fantastic. So you can protect it going into your opponent's turn, because a lot of the time you pull a dude out of the deck, it does a fun little thing, but it hasn't got barrier, so it just gets popped on their turn, and it's meh. This guy's going to come out with immediate protection. There's a promo that gains barrier, that's whatever. And then also your leader gives one of your Raditz, Nappa, or Vegeta's blocker going into your opponent's turn. So this card is triple attack and barrier and can gain blocker and untap at the end of the turn. It's a little bit overtuned, but I'm all here for the broken cards because you can get 3 attacks in. 16k is a decent attack power to have triple attack on. I feel like that's pretty fairly balanced. You get 3 attacks in, but this is something that's going to really like push the docket for the deck because on 3 or more energy you can get this card down. And I think barrier removal for 4 or less is pretty relevant in the game as well, so I don't think it will be like completely overtuned. But it's a really nice bit of support that just kind of fits the archetype and like shores up the consistency of it and gives you like a really like kind of like powerful card that fits nicely into the archetype. So
10
getting
seconds.
in, being able to untap, game blocker, any card that dies, you can pull it out because half the Vegeta cards suck for the archetype. There you go.
Done.
Woo!
That was quick.
I
You know,
know. Right. What do you guys think?
I'll jump in first because I know it sounds weird, but I was listening to that card and I'm not saying because it's locked to Nappa. I'm not sitting here thinking it's broken. Like that feels weird. Like I was like, if it was like for any blue, I'm thinking shit, Soul Strike or Tape, and it's like okay, that's gonna put pressure on. But like when I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm thinking Nappa needs support. The Raditz needs support anyway, and I'm like sitting here and thinking the deck still wouldn't get played. So yeah, like I don't know, it feels like it's fine, which it feels weird because when you say triple barrier, deflect, and then potentially blocker, it's like well that sounds broken as hell, but I don't know, like I want to say it's not, and I feel that's a wrong thing to say, but because it's locked to that leader, or sorry, locked to Raditz technically, which currently is that leader in the blue. Like I feel like it's fine. I don't know. Please tell me you have a different thought process, Ollie, because I don't know if my head's just completely like gone, but I think it's fine.
Nah, I had a hilariously similar thought process to you actually, because I also heard the words deflect, triple attack, barrier, and went, "Oh my god, no, that sounds horrible."
Yeah.
Like flashbacks to Gogeta 7 almost.
And then it was like 16k. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh yeah, of course it's 16k because that's thematic to the archetype, and they all have to be 16k to be played off the thing. And yeah, it is entirely locked to blue Raditz, so like maybe it's okay. And all it does is play 2 tokens, which I'm sure that does something with Raditz and Nappa. I think it does something with Nappa, right? Not Raditz. I can't remember.
The Cyberman tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the activate main to play. I can't. I'm honestly, I went off the presumption we're playing this in Blue Raditz and nothing else. So there might be a little
I'm
magic
pretty sure, yeah, with that like
stuff.
pre-release promo Nappa
Yeah,
leader, it does something with. I'm not sure.
and let us know in the comments as well. If this is your design as well, like if there is, or if you guys think of any kind of synergies there as well. But like as you guys say, like I looked at the card and I was like, this is broken. Like, why would you put triple attack barrier and then potentially block it and untap it? The leader untaps it at the end of the turn as well, so you can do 3 swings of 16k and untap it as well. But then you actually think about it and you're like, this isn't. If you put this in this deck, do you think this deck then immediately wipes Kidku off the face of the earth when they
Nah,
literally move
definitely
it
No.
not. Like,
Of course it
doesn't
doesn't. And
matter.
that's why I was like, let's push the docket and get this deck at least into the conversation for the meta with something that's just actually like really powerful and still really well designed in the archetype.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I like the card. I think it's a card the deck needs. Yeah, you could probably tone it down a tiny bit, but it's fine.
Yeah, no,
It's still
I
fine.
genuinely think this is okay. Like, thinking of today's meta, 20k Z leaders are kind of what you're looking for, anyways, once it gets to 4 or 3 life. Um, but yeah, any sort of like bean effect will just completely nullify this card still.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it's going to cost you 3 cards from your hand to combo or like any cantrips off the board. I don't think that's really doing enough for Vegeta Nappa, but like it's really helping the deck, so I think it's a
Yeah.
cool piece of support. So I'm super down for this card.
Awesome. And Pete, you are the last one on the
What
run.
what seems to be funny is I don't know if we all believe that blue needs support or if we just happen to luckily all pick blue cards because mine's also a blue card.
Blue's the best color, mate. It's so cool.
So this one, I loved the name. So it's a blue Android 16 support. Okay, so my pick is also blue. So it's blue Android 16 support. It's a Z Extra, Dynamite Diver, 1 blue Z Energy, 1 Z Energy. It's got a cool permanent. So if your leader's blue Android 16 only card, join your opponent's turn, reduce the combo cost of all blue-green multicolored Android 16 cards in your hand by 1, which is quite good because obviously a lot of them are sticky. It's got an auto once per turn. When your blue-green multicolored Android card is played from your energy using a rival, you draw 1, then switch up to 1 of your energy to active mode, and it gains barrier for the turn. And then it's also got an activate battle, which again is once per turn. When you use a blue-green multicolored Android card in a combo, during this turn, the next card you activate, a rival blue-green, on an Android card from your hand or energy, reduce the skill by 1 blue. And that is the card I've chosen.
Blimey. Right. I'm going to start the timer for you. Convince us, Pete. Go.
Sure. So, obviously, this is for the Android 16 deck from Extra Booster. One of the main weaknesses with the deck is draw power. So when you awaken, you don't draw anymore, but you're able to combo for free from your drop, which is kind of cool. So with this, it would allow you to do a rival technically on both players' turns, but obviously your opponent's turn as well. And you're able to draw a card. You untap 1, so it's basically potentially a free arrival. But most importantly, it gets barrier for the turn. So like if you're against Kidko and things like that, at least they're not just going to simply kill it. So that's obviously on both players' turn that works. But then the real shine of it is when you're doing, because most of the time with arrivals, you want to do them during your opponent's turn anyway. So this card shines during your opponent's turn because you still get the effect of untapping 1, drawing 1, and the barrier. But when you do it on your opponent's turn, you can reduce the skill cost by 1, which is huge because there's a couple that are like 2 energy to bring out, or even 3 energy, or 4 energy. So with this, you could bring, say, the 2 energy play out, arrival, bring it so it's 1 blue less, so it's 1 green, pay the 1 green, play it, and then with the auto from the other, you then untap 1, so it's like free arrival. But it is once per turn, so it's not like crazy broken. But I think it'll help the deck because you draw, you've got protection, and you're not spending so much energy, which is, I think, all good things. But yeah.
You still got 15 seconds if you want them.
The name is really cool, and it sounds like a wrestling move. That's one reason I picked it as well.
Android 16 for WrestleMania 41. That's what I say.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. See, I don't need all the time.
And that's time for you. What a lovely little like leisurely pace you can go at the end there. Me and Ollie are just like, I'm gasping for breath. Ollie's still like trying to talk through his card, and you're just there like, yeah, whatever, mate. Like you're already convinced. I don't care.
Yeah, I think because it's a Z Extra, it's a lot less because it's all to do with text. I guess the one thing I missed out, it's a bit late anyway, is the fact it's any blue Android 16 only card. So there's potential there to splash it in other Android 16 decks.
Ollie, what do you think?
I really like the concept of the card.
You're gonna hate on me again, you little sod.
And that's the beginning of
That's
some
how
hate.
it starts,
Like,
mate.
That's how it
Always,
starts, yeah. Nah, I really like the concept of the card. I think the auto is really cool. It's very it gives me a lot of like it reminds me a lot of the Kabazi leader that came out just this set, BT26. It's very similar to that, and I think that leader is like a huge buff to that deck. I've never even played the deck, but you can just tell on paper.
Yeah.
The activate battle is very cool. It does scare me a bit. Just like the fact that you're untapping and then also reducing skill cost, it seems crazy. I think I have two main issues with this card. And the first one is, strangely enough, that it's a Z extra. And the reason for that is I think the giving a deck like Android 16 the power to free combo with the leader skill and play from energy, and then also giving it that much draw power is very strong. I think that, honestly, I think if this card in itself had been a Z leader in some form, I think that would be really cool to just replace all of the like additional advantage you get from the Android 16 backside over the top. And my second issue is that if I'm reading this correct, I think the auto and the activate battle are both live during your turn. I think it's only the permanent.
The activate battle's only on your opponent's turn.
Oh, okay. That
was one that untaps.
Yeah, that was something I was.
No. Sorry to interrupt you. The one that reduces the skill cost is my opponent's turn.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was a little bit concerned of. Is the idea of?
Oh wait, there.
Is it not? Wait, have I read that correct?
During this turn. Yeah, no, it's actually way more broken than I thought it was, actually. I swear. Oh, okay, so the only thing that works during your opponent's turn is the reduction on Android 16 cards in your hand by one.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from the auto and activate battle restricted to your opponent's turn, because swinging, being able to then combo a guy from energy, or rival a guy from energy on combo where you pay itself, and you reduce it by one, so you're just paying the one, you pay itself, you play it in, you replace in rest mode, and then you untap it again. It seems like crazy to me. But I think the idea behind the card is super cool. I like a lot of the points there. But I think there's just like a little bit of cleaning up that could be done in general around it.
Yeah, literally, as I read it, I literally thought that was your opponent's turn. I don't know why I thought that. Again, as you can see, chat, it's the perfect example of a TCG player unable to read even fantasy cards.
Trust me, we read your comments. We just maybe miss a couple of bits on them.
My bad.
I'm all for the broken cards. I think the thing that like scares me about the card a little bit, and like maybe this is what the deck needs, right? But like that combo where you do the big Android 16 that then pulls 21 and like that plays the 21 SDR from your hand. But like you now do that for 3 energy, basically, and then you also give the big dude barrier. Oh, and it's like a barrier.
And you untap, so it's 2 energy, really.
Like Like, and they've also just had their entire board put underneath the A21 SCR. Like, oh my goodness! Like, this card's like, if you want Android 16 to be meta, viewer, then your wish is granted. Absolutely. And what was the user's name, by the way? I'm not sure if we mentioned
Oh
it.
yeah, I've got it on the screen as well.
Oh.
You can read it out as it's your card.
What is it? Astro Boost Zero?
Astro Boost. That's what I'm saying. Astro Boost, apparently. Astro
Yeah,
Boost.
I think those two effects should have been on your opponent's turn only. But because they only work on Android 16 cards, I don't think there's an issue there, personally.
Astro Boost. Are you actually Android 16, the guy making this comment? Are you just the Android 16 leader card going? Don't worry, guys. It came with some really cool legacy support. I really love the card. I really love it. And again, like I'm all for just pushing these decks into the meta. Like this is a crazy card, and I'm kind of all here for the chaos, man. Like so, um, I think the time has come where we've got to pick one though, guys.
It would have been really cool if I'd done some like fancy animation for us picking it now.
The three-way headers, some like crazy.
Yeah, I'm not that good at editing, guys. I'm sorry.
We respect you with all of your editing prowess because I have zero, so I heavily rely on you. So the time has come to decide which one of these three ideas is going to win. Does anyone have any concessions so far on their pick in this Mexican standoff style thing?
Is it worth us voting for a pick that isn't ours?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's probably a good idea.
Cool.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast a vote, basically. But obviously, we can't vote for our own, otherwise we'll be at some kind of like old Mexican style standoff. Um, my vote, my vote is going to go this way. I'm so close to the Android 16 Z Extra, but the Z Leader is just like the Halo Coup Z Leader is really clean. You get the boss monster down. Like that deck is like on the precipice of being like really powerful as well, still with all the blue support. Give me that blue Z Leader. Give Ollie his Halo Coup leader back. Get him playing that European final promo again. Put me up. Pete, I want you to go next. Out of the two, which one are you picking?
I'm quite tempted with the Halo one myself, to be fair. Because I think the Raditz one is great, but I also am a bit concerned about it down the line. Like there might be some ways to cheat it out in other decks and stuff, which we don't know about. Like we talked a little bit about the Nappa. So I feel like the Halo Crew Z leader is not broken, and because it goes off, yeah, I think I'll go with Halo Crew, but I think it's very close between the two. I just feel like from a design point of view, the Halo Crew is the safer bet of the two. Like there's less that can be broken with that.
So we can crown ourselves an early winner. Halo Coup Z Leader, and that name again for us, Ollie, of the user who submitted
Oh god,
that.
I'll have to flash it up on the screen quickly so I can
Still get a
remember.
draw, right?
SS Sun Goku Power Transcending Another World.
There you go. And who submitted it? Sorry.
I think it was NSM 6467. It's really hard to see on the screen right now.
6167, whatever appears on the screen here, and whatever you just heard us say if you're listening on Spotify, you are already crowned our champion before Ollie even gets to.
Yeah, my opinion literally doesn't matter here, guys.
Super pleased for you. Ollie, who are you awarding the silver medal to, or who are you declaring the wooden spoon for?
This one is really tough because I really like the Android 16 support and I think it's really cool. And I'm also quite biased towards it because I like the Android 16 deck quite a lot. And I think whilst the Raditz one is very good for what the deck wants to do, it doesn't like I like shiny stuff, and it's just not as fancy as the Android 16 one. Like it's not doing as much, obviously. Um, but at the same time, I feel like the Android 16 one might be doing a bit too much for what it
Yeah.
is.
Like
Um,
maybe as well.
so I think because of that, I do have to go for the Raditz one. But like, I was really tempted by the Android 16 one, even with how broken it was.
Pache, we did it, bro. We didn't finish last. Let's go.
Yeah, I think if the extra was opponent's turn only, I think, yeah, because
And
I
the
must
name is
admit,
sick, I have to admit.
yeah, I love the name. I must admit, I when I picked it, I swear I read it as like the second bit your opponent's turn. So, but I picked it like last week or something, so I haven't like read it again since then. So my bad.
Right, our honourable mentions quickly, then, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We've all got one on there, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to wrap things up here. So my honourable mention is a bit on the similar side to like what just won there and the Halo Coup one, and it is a Great Priest leader, a Z leader for Great Priest, brought in by ABC Dutcher on our YouTube comments, which is a Z Awaken for 1 red energy and 2 Z energy. If your leader's Great Priest in your life is 2 or less, place this card on top of your leader in active mode, which is important because you have to rest the leader to combo your gods into play and use their effects, etc. Permanent also reduces the combo cost of all god cards in your hand by 1. Kusu, Makarita are both hand control cards. That's really cool to combo those for 0, basically. Um, Activate battle once per turn, rest this card, combo a multicolored god from your hand, draw 1 card, 20k power. Dead simple, really cool little bit of support. And Great Priest keeps on ticking up with little like bits of fun support. So yeah, like that was my little like consolidation prize, if you will. Consolation prize. Why can't I say that word properly? Consolation prize. Pete.
So mine is actually from Axel, which is obviously a great guy and very good player. Yeah, part of the group, right? So no, I generally liked this because it I'll say which one it is. So it's the set 10 SS3 Gotenks Z leader. The main reason I picked it is because when I saw it, it felt very thematic. You know, like how you awaken, you get stronger. You might even get the same effects as the first front side, but stronger. This V leader to me just again did the same thing. So like with this particular leader, when you awaken, your abilities get stronger, like with tapping down when they play an extra card, etc. And I think the Z leader then is then the next step. So 3 or less life, the awaken for 1 yellow and 2 Z energy, 15k crit, auto limit 1. If your opponent activates an extra card, you draw 1 and then switch one of your opponent's cards to rest mode, which is important because obviously on the awaken it's battle cards if my memory is correct, where now it's any card. And then also, if you play a card using Union Fusion, this turn your opponent can't activate counter skills on battle cards in any area. And then in Activate Battle, you lead against 10k and remove this card from the game till the end of the turn. At the end of the turn. So I like this because it's basically, like I said, it's the Awaken leader, but then just a stronger version, and I really like that sort of evolution of cards. So big fan of that card.
Lovely. And Ollie, your honourable mention.
Yeah, so my honorable mention is a little bit of a cop out, because it does also support the Angel Halo deck.
Oh,
The reason why is I didn't want to mention one without the other because they ended up both being extremely similar cards. Like it was a little bit scary how similar they were. And I think it really shows the core issues of the Angel Halo deck if people are creating like almost exactly the same style of effects. So I had a real tough time deliberating which one I preferred. But this one is by Blue Chaos 69, and it is Son Goku. Oh no, it is Grand Supreme Kai Fairest Budokai Judge. It's a 3-cost blue battle card with 5k power, 1-cost 5k combo power. And then it has a permanent where this card is also treated as an extra card in your hand. It has another permanent where if your leader is the Angel Halo leader, it becomes a 1-drop in your hand and doesn't have a combo cost. And then it has an auto limit one. When this card is played or when this card is discarded from your hand by one of your skills, you draw a card and place up to 1 extra card from your deck to your drop. And then it's got an activate battle limit 1 for 3 blue. Place this card from your Z energy into its owner's drop. If your opponent has 3 or more energy and you have 2 or more cards in your combo area, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, place it at the bottom of the owner's deck, and then play the 6-drop Goku from your warp or deck. I really like the card because the permanent where it's considered as an extra card makes it cool because you can discard it for your leader skill. But you can also, I believe you can then discard it for, is it the 4-drop Dead Heat? Needs to discard extra cards from your hand. And then obviously if you're discarding it off of those, then you get to draw a card and dump an extra card, which will potentially be an Angel Halo. And then you also have the Activate Battle, which is again offering barrier removal to the deck and cheating out the 6-drop, which is exactly what the Z Leader was doing. There are a couple of reasons I went with the Z Leader instead. A big reason was that the deck doesn't really have much payoff in the Z deck for a deck that builds so much Z energy in the game. And also Z Leaders are just cooler than battle cards in general. But also I felt like it was a little bit scary giving generic Activate Battle. Well, it was a little bit scary just giving the deck like Activate Battle, remove any card ignoring barrier. And also playing the 6-drop whenever you wanted, whereas the Z Leader restricted it to your own turn. But it's also a bit scary just like giving that generically, and it's also a bit scary giving the when played or discarded effect generically, because there's a lot of like discard effects in the game, and we saw that with Beerus Godly Majesty getting banned just for being a 15k that played itself when it's discarded. So yeah, I felt like the Z Leader was all around just a little bit more well, a little bit less scary, I'd say, to print as a generic card.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think when you were reading off that one, I was like, that's a bit too good.
That wouldn't have won. That wouldn't have won. The Z Leader definitely like balance of being like really like powerful for the deck, but not being overboard.
And not being generic like in any way. It was very thematic and very locked.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think we're going to call it there, folks. We've had a pretty nice little yapping session at the beginning there. Our thoughts on the pricing system as well. And then obviously a nice extended version of Dragon Ball's Den. Again, a massive thank you to you all for putting in your submissions. It's been a real pleasure reading through so many different effects and deciding what we were going to pick for this. And 100% we're going to be revisiting this in the future. So we'll make sure you're you're tuning into our next podcast so you catch the next time. We're going to be opening things up to the public. But next week we are going to be returning to the three of us trying to pitch an idea. It's going to be my week to pitch, so you have a wonderful, probably green idea coming to you from myself. But otherwise, we are going to sign off there. And thank you ever so much again for listening, watching, in whatever medium you are doing so. Thank you for sticking with us for a week. I know that we're always trying to get this out on a weekly basis. But with my holiday and Oliver's allergies playing up last week, we really couldn't get ourselves in for an episode. So thank you so much for your patience and sticking with us.
I was fine, just for the record. I had no
Our
issue.
dedicated Masters player, who might be playing One Piece Finals, but dedicated Masters player.
No one's tuning in to listen to Pete as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, people don't come to listen to me rabbit. Sad face.
You could have done your own podcast episode with just you rambling for 2 hours.
Talk about all win con in games. That would have been an interesting podcast, surely.
4-hour podcast of Pete. We'll see you next week for that, folks. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.